I'm Dave Crane. Now I also do gigs like this. And I can train you to be able to work with people like this. And then you also can do gigs like this. Come join me and we'll take your speaking to a whole new level. Hi, I'm Dave Crane. It's me, SpeakOnstage. It's me, Dave Crane. SpeakOnstage is a show. Hope you're well. Hope you've been busy. Hope things are working out really well in your particular lifestyle. And the challenges are that everything's bonkers. Yesterday, I started at 6 o'clock. I'm going to tell you a story now, and you're probably not going to care. But yesterday, I started at 6 o'clock with my first coaching client, and about 3 coaching clients during the day. I had 2 interviews where I was going live onto shows, including doing my own show as well. So that's 3 all in all. I wrote an article for a magazine, had dinner with my family, and managed to scrape in an episode of before bedtime. And it felt really good, but at the same time I was wiped out. I know you don't care, but the reason I'm saying it is because of today's show. Today's show is all about this: how to dump tech and find yourself. And that's ultimately what today's show is really all about. Now, why should that be so important? Why should you care? Very simply, because I'm lucky enough to be doing stuff that I really love. Doing it doesn't feel like I'm doing work. Sometimes it does a little bit when it sort of packs itself on top, and then you can get stressed. Have you ever seen what they're called? Accordions. Now, accordion, if you Google it, it's an instrument that you'd never ever see played by anybody unless they had a really long beard and an old band with banjos and stuff like that. An accordion is a really old style instrument. So basically, it sounds a bit like an organ, right? But is it an organ? Is it an accordion I'm thinking of? An accordion is the one where you go like that and you play it like an organ and it goes in like that. But there's another one which just goes. What's that called? That's not a harmonica. Harmonicas are like these. And you've seen them before, certainly in country and western music and folk music. But there's another one I'm trying to think of that's not an accordion. And you don't play it, it just goes in and out like that. And it goes. What's it called? Anyway, I digress. I'll find out for later on. I promise you I'll find it from somewhere. So anyway, what's the show about? The show is all about this. It's about how to get away from all the tech that's doing your head in. And I know that it's a lifeline for you. I know it's so important when you're in lockdown to be able to go on and check what's going on in the outside world. But here's the problem. It's like Icarus. You're so close to the... Who's Icarus? All right. Icarus was a guy, right? A guy. Like, we'll practice this by showing you T'Challa, Black Panther. So imagine a guy like that, but possibly not dressed in black vibranium. So he's got wings that he made out of feathers and wax. And so him and his son are escaping from some tower or something. It's an old biblical story, or an old ancient Greek story or something. Anyway, so he's escaping with these wings. How can we make wings? Wings made by using my watch. All right, let's try it with my watch. Okay, so there's my iWatch. So he's got his wings, flap, 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 flap. That's not bad, actually. Flap, 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 flap. Well done, Steve Jobs. So he's flapping over his wings. The problem is, as he's flying over the sea, if he goes too close to the sun, the wax will melt the wings and he'll fall to his death. If he goes too close to the sea, the salt water will make the wings too heavy and he'll fall to his death. Because there's sharks and, I don't know, piranhas in the sea. I don't know. It's not a real story. It's just a thing. So it's that constant battle. Does he go too high or too close to the sea to be able to get to where he needs to be? And that's the balance between being stuck in lockdown and thinking, oh my goodness, I need to be connected to the world, but also having a lack of those opportunities to just get away from everything because you're stuck inside the house. Now, not everyone's on total lockdown. Some people on voluntary lockdown. Some people have options where they can just stick their head out the door and go, "Hello, everybody." And they go, "You've got no mask on." You go, "Hello, everybody." And say, "Right, we heard you. And we saw you without a mask." I'm telling teacher, I'm going to make a call like that. And they go like this for about a while. Then they realize that that's not a phone. And nobody uses a dial anymore. And what they're doing is about as useful as doing that thing when you pat on your head and rub your tummy. You ever did that when you were a kid? No? Didn't. Just I did it when I was a kid. Because we had no television. So at night time, my dad would say, "Right, okay, do your pat your head and rub my tummy thing until you fall asleep. And I'll see you tomorrow." And then he'd close the door, lock it. And that was my childhood. So we're talking about detoxing from the pressures of the world around you and how best to do it. So we're going to show you some videos. First one's going to be about how it was done in South Korea to get some teenagers away who were just stuck in complete obsession with electronic items. And most teenagers like that, in fact most people are like that, period, anyway. Certainly if it's Generation Alpha, which was the Licklands, under the age of 10, they were born into it. It was almost like they were born, and as they came out of the womb, somebody handing them an iPad and say, "By the way, the Wi-Fi code is this." And they go, Minecraft, like that. Or it could be Gacha, or it could be some other game instead. But the point is, it's really hard to get people away from these things, but ultimately they're not great for you. As psychologists tell you that the way that your brain needs to, in the early days at least, in your childhood, it needs to develop everything completely, not just the ability to play games and get online. But the double-edged sword is that with your children, and I know with Maya, for instance, Maya's a genius when it comes to, I'm sure she's not a genius, I'm sure she's just like your average kid, but she's very dedicated and very good at it. She gets online and goes, blah, 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 and things happen. She's got almost 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so she can monetize it at the age of 10, and she's got people watching over 70,000 viewers of her videos that she puts out online, and she's 10. She's not going out and saying, "Hi, I'm Maya." She's doing gacha animation. So nobody knows who she really is. This is just her putting a toe in the water of what it's like to connect to a world out there. Now, if you think about what jobs are all about, how many social media companies can promise you that within 6 months we'll get you 1,000 subscribers and it's created organically and we'll get over 70,000 views, organic views for your stuff? Not that many. We'll just say, well, we'll get you relevant and we'll get you out there. We'll pay a fortune for everyone to like your stuff because that's how bribes work online. So it's kind of interesting. How do you detox them and when should you detox them? But more importantly, how do you detox you? Is it really good for you to step away from working so much with your detox? Because you can become so reliable. Now, the thing is, and I watched this movie, The Social Dilemma, a little while ago, and it was fascinating to see what has gone into creating social media. Social media is deliberately addictive. The ability to have likes and loves and comments and shares is something that lights up a little endorphin in your head and it gives you a little dopamine rush. It goes, woohoo! And so it becomes addictive, just like when somebody's on crack. It's like phone crack. And I've actually got a crack on my phone, which is, kind of different from what I was trying to say. But the point is, you become so obsessed with it, you need to feel that the world loves you. And so you need to feel that you need to check on your phone every now and again. Did they like my comment? Oh, he likes my comment. They like my comment. I feel gratified. The world loves me now. And I've gone another 3 seconds without anybody pressing anything. No, they're starting to unlove me. What's happening to the world? And so for many people, their validation of who they are as a person is 100%, not 100%, 100% based on the comments and the likes and the shares that we get from social media. Now, the thing is, it's an ecosystem. In order for you to really work in a world where everyone's in lockdown and connect and put yourself out there as a freelancer or a small business, or even have companies find you and clients find you, it's quite important that you consider creating an online presence so people can find you and connect with you. But at the same time, to do that, to really embrace social media, you have to really think about whether you want to be on 24/7 or you want to use it rather than it uses you. Then you've got to add the other bit on top of it, which is the experience that we've had recently, not recently, about 4 or 5 years ago, with social media data being sold to companies. That's when we found out about it. Cambridge Analytica used all the social media you could think of to make elections get slightly rigged. Because, I mean, I've got to say as well, not just Trump, it was Obama, did the whole thing as well, got to social media and used the ability to know what people liked, to get people to feel a certain way, to get them to make a vote. It's very smart. It was the way it was done. But it's also now producing all sorts of fake and nasty videos. And it's a real battleground to a point where people are kind of addicted to watching it, but they don't like it. It's like somebody says, with a train crash coming, don't watch it. And you go, okay, I'm not watching. Has it happened yet? No, it's not happened. I'm not looking though. Like that. The equivalent of it, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, is we used to have a TV show called Doctor Who. And Doctor Who was all about this Time Lord that was always played by different actors in the same way as you get different actors playing James Bond, but they'd have a ceremony where he would die but come back as a new actor because the actor had got too old or a bit too crap, so they wanted to get somebody else in to do the role, or the actor had a scandal and we just said, we can't have you being Doctor Who, despite the fact he's a time freak. You are freakier. Put the gimp mask down, get out. That never happened. But the point is that with Doctor Who, it was a very interesting show for a lot of reasons I can't remember. So there you go. I've lost what I was talking about. So let's get back to what this is all about, which is about the ability to... oh yeah, that's right. Doctor Who. I watched Doctor Who as a kid, 7, 8 years old. And this show, it got a resurgence recently. It's mega popular. And in America, which doesn't normally take British shows unless it's Benny Hill or Fawlty Towers or Ricky Gervais. That's the only things it likes. Everything else it says is rubbish. So what would happen is you've got these creatures called the Daleks. And the Daleks were basically the worst ever baddies you could ever have. I'll tell you, this is true. And I haven't got a picture of a Dalek I can illustrate to you. But when I do show you a Dalek, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Right, let me show you this. This is, and if you're British or you've watched Doctor Who, you're a science geek, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. This carton, right, my juice, this is my mango juice I'm drinking. This has all the weaponry of a Dalek. A Dalek looked like a dustbin, right? And it had, in fact, let me just add a bit. I'll add a pen. There you go, it's a full-on Dalek. It had all the ability to walk around like a dustbin. That must have been how the effects people put it all together. It had a feeler thing with a plunger on it. So if you wanted to do potato shapes, or you wanted to sort of like do circles on something, or if you wanted to catch somebody who's running away and sucker them on the face like that, and they go, get rid of me, you try to get off me. And go, no, I can shake your face with my plunger thing. And then they'd have a death ray. A death ray and a plunger. And this isn't a death ray, this is juice. Just in case you're worried and you're thinking, oh my God, Dave's sucking a Dalek. That never occurred until I started this sketch. But anyway, let's not go. I'm so embarrassed now. There's a joke there I really didn't want to say. So the point was, these Daleks are the scariest things in the universe. Think about Darth Vader and how that hit you when you watched Star Wars. And you went, Star Wars, Darth Vader, oh my goodness, he's really scary. He's not really, he's just a guy dressed in bin bags with a bit of a fetish and a sword. So, what we're talking about with the Daleks would come on TV, and every single kid would watch the Daleks, but they'd watch it from behind the sofa. So, you'd sit behind the sofa, and the Daleks would come on, and you'd be super scared because the Daleks are the scariest things ever. But you'd look like that. And what you do is you'd want to go like that and cover your eyes, but at the same time you want to see what the Daleks are doing, whether they catch a doctor and his gorgeous assistant who always got captured. So you'd be watching like that. And so you'd see everything. Even if you're behind the sofa's not made of glass anyway, so you would see everything regardless, and you would want to dip behind the sofa so the Daleks couldn't get you, but of course it didn't make any difference, so you saw everything. What was I talking about? Anybody? This show's meant to be about making you money and teaching you ways to be better at doing what you do and your mindset and your business opportunities. And I'm talking about blooming Daleks, which doesn't help. So let's go back to the original theme, which is this: how to dump tech and find yourself, not find yourself like, where have I gone? It's find yourself as in find yourself. You know what I mean? You come to one with yourself as a person, as opposed to thinking that you're just this social media animal that people created and decided that they're going to put out there. So I've got 2 really good videos. We're also going to be looking at this, which I think is rather cool. 5 ways to go off the grid when you decide that you're going to detox yourself, and 5 things you should be thinking about. That's 4. 5 things you should be thinking about. And on top of that, Later on, we'll be discovering the actual 10, or is it 11 things? Probably 10 things on how to dump tech and find yourself as well. So all that and more coming up in this really exciting show. I hope you're feeling really good about it. As always, we're live on LinkedIn, live on Facebook, live on YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, into Twitter. And I'd love to know who you are and where you are. Tell me where you are. Say hi when you pop up. Because here's the thing, it gets really lonely unless people say hi. Imagine just being on your own, trying to share the ways of the world, and you think to yourself, it's very quiet. Nobody gives a monkeys. But when you say hi, my life lights up and your life lights up. Because then I go, I've got to look after these people. Otherwise I just go, right, drink your coffee and go back in your box. It's good coffee. Videos are up next. Speak on stage.
Thanks to my phone, I never miss a birthday, an email, a news alert, anything, and that can be great, but it can also get overwhelming quickly. So if you want to recharge or you want to pursue a digital detox, Gretchen Rubin, the author of The 4 Tendencies, gives us some advice.
One thing that is a big happiness stumbling block for people now is feeling like they're overwhelmed by sort of digital news, digital information. They feel addicted to their phone, and yet they're kind of sickened by their phone. These are wonderful tools, but technology, like many things, it's a good servant and a bad master. And so we want to stay in control of our technology. So one thing to do is set aside a time every day when you're going to turn it off. And don't just keep your phone like in your back pocket or right next to you. Put it someplace inconvenient. If something's hard to get to, you're not going to go for it as much. So put it in your briefcase and put it on a high shelf in a closet with the door closed. Don't just walk around with your phone in your pocket. Another thing that can help is turn your phone to grayscale. This is very easy to do in your settings. When your phone is in black, white, and gray, it's a lot less tempting to look at. It's much more like a utility than a toy. A lot of people feel overwhelmed by the news, and if that's true for you, one thing to think about is using a paper newspaper. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, whereas with digital news, you can just keep going and going and going forever. Another thing is it's less emotional when we read it in print than when if we're watching video, hearing voices, and also print newspaper tends to be more analytical, so it's more dense with information, and so it's less of that kind of like repeat over and over discussions that's easy to get sucked into. If you're a person who has like a particular television show that you love to watch and you can kind of get sucked into that and watch it, hour after hour after hour, pair that television show with something like exercise. So you can say to yourself, okay, I'm only going to watch my favorite political opinion show while I'm on the treadmill. As long as I'm on the treadmill, I can watch as long as I want. But if I'm off the treadmill, I can't watch that television show. And when you're feeling overwhelmed by everything that's coming your way, one thing to do is just to take a 10-minute break. Research shows that people who take a 10-minute break every hour are more productive and more focused. And for extra credit, take that 10-minute break outside, because being outside in the sunshine, getting that light in your face, getting that fresh air, that will also boost your mood, your memory, your focus.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel.
So welcome back, it's Speak on Stage, I'm Dave Crane. Love your thoughts, love your comments. What do you think about all this, by the way? Do you think there's a need to get off social media? And you are right, Dave. Here's you telling people to detox from social media, but at the same time, here's you on social media. If we get off social media, we don't get to see you at all, which could be a good thing, or could be a bad thing. It's up to you. I'm not saying get off social media. I'm not saying stop watching the show. What I'm saying is maybe the balance needs to be different. So you got a work-life balance. We went on about that yesterday, with how much effort you put into work, how much effort you put into you, but also work-life tech balance. We're looking at how you mix the three together. We'll also be adding other things to it in the next couple of days as well, so make sure you keep an eye on that. So how do you manage to get teenagers away from that? How do you manage to get teenagers to take a break? And at what stage do you decide that there's too much going on for them? And as I'm saying them, I know that you're thinking about you. You might not have a son or a daughter or a teenager. It might be you that's spending far too much time on social media. Let's have a look at an experiment that was done in South Korea, to get the young people, lads, boys, off the internet. Stop playing games or whatever they might be doing. Don't go there. And instead get them away to boot camps where maybe they'll learn some interpersonal skills instead. Take a look at this. It's kind of interesting on Speak on Stage.
In the remote and pristine mountains of South Korea, far away from the country's high-tech cities, teenage internet addicts come for a cure. 18-year-old Kyle Won's addiction is out of control. He spends 10 hours a day on the internet. Kyle was top of the class, but now he's dropped out of his final year of school.
He's become aggressive and angry towards people. He used to listen to us, but now he doesn't.
Kyle's smartphone is taken away and then a goodbye to parents and to cyberspace.
I'm really worried because I won't have my phone, but I trust other things will fill my time.
The boys live in for 12 days and every day starts with exercise. The counsellors encourage human interaction to get them socialising again. Many only have online friends.
I have relationships on the internet, and a real distance has grown with my actual friends, and I know it's a problem.
One of the basic ideas here is to rebuild connections back to the real world and weaken ties to the virtual one, to recapture a childhood lost to the computer.
South Korean psychiatrists are urging more action, as too much screen time damages developing brains.
It affects the frontal lobes, which are important for critical analysis.
The camp may not be a cure, but after just 2 days, Kyle says it's helping.
It's a step forward. I'm living without the internet, and I think it will have an impact on my internet usage.
South Korea is the most wired nation on earth, and it's learning to manage and moderate its high-tech future. Matthew Carney, ABC News, South Korea.
So there you have it, and there's a real problem actually, and that's in many countries. I read about it happening in Japan, so I can mention the one in Japan, and that's teenage, and actually not just teenage men, but older men are not considering relationships because of their obsession with things that they do on the internet, of which there's two things. One of them is exactly what you're thinking of, and the other one is playing games. And so they're worried about the population because they're just not meeting girls, not interested in meeting girls, and it's really warping their relationship with people. I'm sure that's not just exclusive to Japan. I'm sure it's a thing that goes on elsewhere. I'm just throwing it out there that sometimes it's good to detox, and it's a real challenge right now when you can't easily go out and connect with people because of the coronavirus. But there's something now like a tightrope that you need to be able to think about to walk along that line, especially for your family, to make sure they can connect. And it might mean finding a different way of getting people connected. You might have to connect with Zoom, but then limit it so it's not just a completely tech experience. My daughter, we make a point of keeping her off the internet as much as we possibly can on certain days because she's got to go on Zoom to be able to talk to a school class and do a couple of hours on there. And then she does some extra classes as well because she likes doing them. Doesn't really like doing them. We like doing them. But also, then she wants to go on the iPad, but we force her to spend some quality time reading because your ability to read means that you've got a bigger imagination, not just the imagination that's given to you by somebody's interpretation of a book. And so you go, wow, that's the movie. And go, no, well, the movie's not quite like the book. The book's got lots of other stuff that's really more interesting in it. And it's really hard to take that when you can get an easy gratification of watching a ton more movies, which is faster than reading a ton of books. You know what I mean? So it's a case of just getting that balance right. But if you decide that you do want to do something about it, then this article by Vogue could be useful for you. And as you've probably seen, I am not a normal Vogue reader. How can you tell that? Because I look like rubbish when I come on the show. Oh, look, Dave, is that designer polo shirt you've got? No, it's the first one out the wash. It'll look clean. Okay. So 5 things to consider when you go off a grid. And I think they're kind of interesting for a lot of different reasons, because some of them I know that you're going to kick back against and say I don't like that, but it's all part of the game. First one, break up with social media. As I mentioned earlier, social media can be incredibly manipulative, and it's meant to be. That's what it's there for. It's not correct. Well, if you watch this show, it's on Netflix, called The Social Dilemma. It's got all these experts from all the different platforms talking and confiding and confessing all about how they drove everything. And they're all